Three Gen Z teens thought their dark humor would impress the crowd. When they started tickling the royal guard, everyone laughed along. But when his stone-cold face suddenly transformed into something they'd never seen before, the sound of a teen crying for his mommy echoed through the stunned silence. What happened next left even the most hardened onlookers in disbelief. Before we continue, if you appreciate these moments of respect and tradition, subscribe to join our community and share where you're watching from in the comments. Now let's begin. A cloud of strawberry-scented vape smoke drifts across the square, cutting through the crisp London air. Behind it, three figures emerge, walking with the kind of confidence that only comes from complete cluelessness. Their oversized clothes and exaggerated swagger make them look like they've just stepped out of what they think is a music video. Zayn leads the pack, his designer knockoff jacket hanging off his shoulders like a cape, taking another deep hit from his vape pen. The fog around him can't hide his smirk as he spots the royal guard standing at attention. Behind him, Tommy's cargo pants threaten to give up their losing battle with gravity while he practices what he probably thinks is a gangster walk. Leo brings up the rear, practically swimming in an XXXL hoodie, constantly tugging at his clothes like he's still getting used to wearing them. Yo fam, check this out. Zayn's voice carries across the square as he gestures toward the guard. A few teenage tourists nearby perk up, already grinning in anticipation. Man's really out here dressed like a Christmas nutcracker. The laughter is immediate. Young faces lighting up with phones emerging from pockets. An elderly couple exchanges glances, the kind that speak volumes without saying a word, and hurry past. A mother grabs her young son's hand, pulling him away while muttering something about kids these days. Tommy, encouraged by the attention, puts on his best posh accent, the kind you'd hear in a badly written period drama. Oh yes, quite fancy, innit? Tea and crumpets, anyone? More laughter ripples through the younger crowd, while a businessman in a sharp suit picks up his pace, shaking his head as he passes. Leo, still finding his place in this performance, adds a weak no cap, fam, trying so hard to match Zayn's energy that his voice cracks. The guard remains motionless, staring straight ahead, a living statue among the growing chaos. His stillness only seems to encourage them. Like sharks sensing blood in the water, the square is dividing now. Young faces grinning, phones recording, while others start to step back, creating an invisible line between those who think this is entertainment and those who can sense trouble brewing. A baby starts crying somewhere in the crowd, but the teens are too caught up in their moment to notice the shifting atmosphere. Zayn takes another long drag from his vape, the sweet smell mixing with the growing tension in the air. Bruv, you see his hat though? He circles the guard like a shark, blowing smoke rings that drift dangerously close to the guard's face. Bet that's where he keeps his tea and biscuits, innit? A group of young Australian tourists burst out laughing, one of them shouting, "Do the accent again!" Tommy, sensing his moment, steps forward. His cargo pants shuffle against the pavement as he adopts an exaggerated stance, chest puffed out like a peacock. Oh, dearest me, I do believe it's time for tea with the Queen. Tommy's voice rises to a falsetto, each word dripping with mockery. Shall we discuss the colonies over some crumpets? The laughter continues, but it's different now. Scattered. Uncertain. A woman in a business suit stops mid-step, her disapproving glare cutting through the square. Leo, emboldened by the earlier reactions, finds his voice. Yo, bet his mustache is fake too. Probably glued on every morning, no cap. His oversized sleeves fall back as he points, revealing skinny wrists that betray his attempt at looking tough. The guard remains motionless, but something changes in the air. Maybe it's the way his jaw tightens ever so slightly, or how his grip on his weapon shifts by a millimeter. Details so small, you'd miss them if you weren't looking closely. These people really think they special because they got some fancy palace. Tommy continues, his voice getting louder, more aggressive, walking round like they ain't never done nothing wrong in history. The words hang heavy in the air, sharp with racist undertones. A veteran in a Royal Marines cap steps forward from the crowd, his medals catching the light. That's enough, lads. His voice carries the weight of years of service. Show some respect. Okay, boomer. Zane dismisses him with a wave of his vape pen. But the crowd's energy has shifted. Parents are pulling their children back. Tourists are lowering their phones. The laughter has died down to uncomfortable coughs and whispered conversations. Man's really out here defending this circus act. Tommy sneers, but his voice wavers slightly as he notices more disapproving faces than supportive ones now. Even some of the younger onlookers who were laughing earlier are starting to back away, sensing the invisible line being crossed. Leo glances between his friends and the increasingly hostile crowd, his attempts to adjust his oversized clothes becoming more nervous fidgets than fashion statements. But he's in too deep now, caught between his desire to fit in and the growing realization that they might have taken this too far. The guard's stillness has become something else entirely, not just disciplined silence, but the kind of quiet that comes before a storm. His eyes remain fixed forward, but there's a tension in his frame that speaks volumes. The crowd can feel it too, the air thick with anticipation of what might happen next. Zane takes one last long drag from his vape before pocketing it, his eyes narrowing as he studies the guard's unchanging expression. Nah, fam, this can't be real, he declares, voice cutting through the tense atmosphere. Bet he's one of them robots from Thorpe Park, innit? The guard's stillness seems to mock them now, his disciplined stance a challenge to their fragile egos. Tommy shifts his weight, trying to maintain his tough facade despite the changing mood around them. Only one way to find out, Zane announces. A dangerous glint in his eye. He steps forward, crossing the invisible boundary that separates spectator from subject. His hand reaches out, fingers wiggling as he aims for the guard's ribs. Let's see if man's ticklish. The first contact is like a match to gasoline. A collective gasp ripples through the crowd. A mother quickly covers her young daughter's eyes, hurriedly whispering, "This is not okay, we're leaving." Some tourists back away while others raise their phones higher, torn between discomfort and morbid curiosity. The guard's first response is subtle, a slight flare of his nostrils, a barely perceptible tightening of his jaw. Then it comes, a deep, commanding voice that seems to emerge from the very stones of the palace itself. Step back. For a moment, everything freezes. Even the birds seem to stop their chatter. But Tommy, desperate to maintain his image, breaks the silence with an exaggerated imitation. Step back, he squeaks in a high-pitched voice, earning nervous titters from the few remaining supporters. Yo, he actually spoke, Leo exclaims, his oversized hoodie sleeves flapping as he gestures excitedly. That's mad! Zane's grin widens, dangerous and cocky. Oh, so you can talk? Was beginning to think they forgot to program that feature. His fingers make contact again, this time more deliberately. What you gonna do about it, fam? The guard's stillness takes on a new quality, like a coiled spring under immense pressure. Security guards in the distance have noticed now, their postures changing, heads turning toward the commotion. Mate, you're asking for trouble, warns a voice from the crowd, but it's drowned out by Tommy's sudden bravado. Yo, if he ain't gonna move, might as well make it interesting. Tommy lurches forward, joining Zane's assault with his own tickling attempts. Come on, Leo, don't be a waste man. Leo hesitates for a split second, looking around at the now mostly hostile crowd. An elderly woman is shaking her head, muttering, "Disgraceful," under her breath. But peer pressure wins out, and he joins his friends. Three pairs of hands now invading the guard's personal space. The crowd has gone completely silent. Parents shield their children, tourists lower their phones, and even the most amused onlookers begin to back away. The guard's face remains forward, but something has changed. The tension in his jaw has spread to his entire body, like a dam about to break. The teens, oblivious to the warning signs, continue their assault. Man's really trying to hold it in. Zane laughs, but there's a nervous edge to it now. Bet he's dying to laugh. They don't notice the slight shift in the guard's stance, the way his fingers adjust their grip on his weapon, the almost imperceptible deep breath he takes. The crowd sees it, though. The ancient discipline of centuries of tradition, warring with the need to respond to this blatant disrespect. The air itself seems to crackle with tension, everyone watching knowing that something has to give. And in the distance, even the palace pigeons have gone quiet, as if they too sense the approaching storm. What happened next would be shared in hundreds of British Guard moments, compilations for years to come. The transformation was instant, like watching a statue come to life. The guard's head snapped toward them with military precision, his eyes blazing with the kind of authority that comes from generations of discipline. His next movement was a perfect pivot, the kind that would make drill sergeants weep with joy. "You dare mock the Queen's Guard? You pathetic little maggots!" The voice wasn't just loud. It was a controlled explosion, each word a precision strike that seemed to physically hit them. His next words came like artillery fire, each syllable striking with military precision. "I will give you 3 seconds to remove yourselves from my sight before I show you what real discipline looks like. 1!" The roar echoed off the palace walls, making the ground seemingly vibrate. This wasn't just a guard speaking. This was generations of military might concentrated into a verbal bombardment. His parade ground voice trained to command battalions, now focused entirely on 3 trembling teens. 2! The second number came with such force that several pigeons took flight in panic. Behind the thunderous countdown was the clear promise that nobody wanted to find out what came after 3. The effect was immediate. Leo's tough guy facade shattered like glass. His eyes went wide, mouth quivering, and then, in a voice that cracked with pure terror, "Mommy!" The cry echoed across the square, high-pitched and primal. His oversized hoodie seemed to swallow him as he stumbled backward, tears already streaming down his face. Tommy, who moments ago was swagger personified, suddenly looked like a deflating balloon. His legs turned to jelly, and as he tried to back away, his sagging cargo pants finally won their day-long battle with gravity. He tripped, sprawling backward, all pretense of toughness evaporating in an instant. Zane's reaction was perhaps the most telling. His vape pen clattered to the ground, the sound somehow audible in the deathly silence that followed the guard's command. He stood frozen, mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water, no trace of his earlier cockiness remaining. When he finally found his voice, all that came out was a stuttered, I. The crowd's reaction transformed too. The few who had been filming now held their phones with white-knuckled grips. Parents who had been shielding their children's eyes now watched with barely concealed satisfaction. A group of veterans stood straighter, nodding in approval, their own military bearing responding to the display of discipline. The guard's face was a masterpiece of controlled fury, not the wild anger of a bar fight, but the refined, disciplined rage of centuries of military tradition. His eyes locked onto each teen in turn, each glance carrying the weight of every hour he'd spent, standing motionless, while tourists tested his patience. Someone in the crowd whispered, "Bloody hell," the words carrying clearly in the stunned silence. A baby's cry pierced the air, then quickly hushed, as if even the infant sensed the gravity of the moment. Leo had backed himself against a wall, his sniffles and whimpers providing a pitiful soundtrack to their humiliation. Tommy was still on the ground, his tough guy pants now around his ankles, showing Pokemon boxers to the world. Zane stood rooted to the spot, his carefully cultivated image of streetwise confidence lying in pieces around him, like his forgotten vape pen. The guard's next movements were a textbook display of military bearing, each motion precise, controlled, purposeful. He returned to his post with the same precision he'd shown in breaking it, resuming his stance as if nothing had happened. But now, there was something different about his stillness. Not just discipline, but triumph. The square remained frozen for a moment longer, the only movement being Leo's continued tears and Tommy's desperate attempt to pull up his pants while staying low to the ground. Then gradually, like a wave receding from shore, the crowd began to move again. Parents guided their children away, tourists lowered their phones, and the veterans gave one final approving nod before turning to leave. The three teens who had arrived full of misplaced confidence were left in various states of breakdown, one crying, one crawling, and one catatonic. Their attempt at humor had met centuries of discipline, and discipline had won without throwing a single punch. Someone started to applaud, and soon the whole square joined in, a thunderous appreciation for tradition standing firm against disrespect. What do you think about how these teens learned their lesson? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Would you have stood up to them earlier, or did the guard's timing hit just right? Don't forget to destroy that like button. If you love seeing respect win, hit subscribe for more incredible moments like this, and ring that bell to join our notification squad. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. These palace guards have plenty more stories to tell.